Over 80% of viewers aren't subscribed. It would really mean a lot if you hit that button and supported the channel. The Airbus A321XLR is what many people would describe as a game-changing aircraft that, when launched, will genuinely redefine the boundaries of single-aisle commercial aviation. When Airbus announced the new variant in 2019, it was revealed to really meet the growing demand in the long-range market. However, Airbus's XLR has its single-aisle efficient nature to its advantage. The XLR's defining quality would be, as the name suggests, its extra long range. Coming equipped with an additional fuel tank, Airbus says it can fly over 8,000 kilometers or 4,700 nautical miles, and will allow for maximum range on operations such as those from North America to Europe. While this is only one example, there are many other critical geographical points that are now accessible with this aircraft. Ultimately, though, you could look at the Airbus A321XLR as just being another part of the European manufacturers' continued attempts at disrupting the middle of the market segment and taking advantage of Boeing's lack of an aircraft in this very sector. At the same time, most are pretty excited about the arrival of this plane into the industry, with per latest reports saying it should be sometime in 2024. The thing is though, while there are many positives to this aircraft in the future, it hasn't really been all smooth sailing from the launch, with more headlines in recent years surrounding concerns with the type rather than the positives it will harbour once delivered. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, the XLR comes equipped with a substantial range increase from the LR, that just being the long range. While you may ponder why, well, the difference between the XLR and LR is just enough for some customers to stretch, say, their European operations from North America further west than what the LR allows them. This opens up possibilities for a host of new destination points with a single-aisle aircraft. Additionally, this can be seen in other markets too. To achieve all of this, Airbus has added a fuel tank behind the landing gear compartment, labelled the central fuel tank. However, this new tank hasn't had the smoothest sailing and has been a primary attribute as to why the program is not currently flying with passengers. If you did catch on to how I worded that, I said as why it is not currently flying with passengers, and you may think to yourself, why on earth am I saying that considering it is uncertified? Well, when under initial guidance by Airbus and when they launched the program, the EIS or entry into service date was actually 2023. Now it has moved to the early to midway point of 2024. Why? Well, because jointly the US and European aviation authorities, that is your Federal Aviation Administration and the European Aviation Safety Agency, have expressed their concerns around a fire hazard, which is directly traced back to the addition of that new fuel tank. The fuel tank has seen modifications requested by authorities within the industry, who essentially want a protective liner to be added to the rear fuel tank and other reinforcements around the cabin. Ultimately, though, one of the biggest talking points from potential changes that could be added is that reinforcements will add weight, which Airbus would want to avoid at all costs if possible. But remember, safety is the absolute priority. Why is this something they would want to avoid? Well, any added weight could have ramifications on the overall range of the type. And when the A321XLR's main selling point is the addition of its range, no doubt concerns will arise. In July of this year, it was reported that such changes being requested to the overall aircraft could reduce the range by around 200 nautical miles. Airbus said, though, that their expectation was no significant impact would occur on the range of the XLR, despite concerns being present over the fire hazard and the structural integrity needing to be strengthened in relation to this. Interestingly though, and just something to slap onto the end of this segment of the video, there were murmurs about the A330neo being offered as an alternative to the A321XLR around the same time too. While yes, definitely valid concerns are present about the additional fuel tank and the pathway therefore to certification, with the potential effects on the overall range capabilities and the weight of the aircraft, customers that have committed to the series already, and yes, there is a bucket load. In the first week of its announcement, we saw hundreds upon hundreds of orders from major airlines right around the world. They've still expressed their concerns over delivery timeframes. These delays primarily result from several factors, including supply chain disruptions, global economic challenges, especially with the conflict taking place in Ukraine, and the lingering effects of the global pandemic. Notably in this sense though, the delivery delays are relating to an uncertified aircraft, and these delays are not just related to this plane. Current Airbus aircraft types are also involved in this, which sees airlines scrambling to determine the best way to mitigate capacity lost with aircraft not coming in on time. Qantas, for example, has publicly said that they'll expect their first XLR to actually enter into scheduled operations with customers by the beginning of 2025, eyeing a delivery in late 2024. This is later than they initially targeted, and this is just one example. Other carriers such as Air Canada, as quoted by Aviation Week in June of this year, are actually already preparing for delays to the XLR program and are trying their very best to fill the gaps in the market that they may witness because of this. Largely, when airlines order aircraft, they will also organize delivery schedules. Therefore, their entire network will typically rely on a specific aircraft arriving on time. It leaves them more problems than they may have liked if this doesn't take place, and while every customer will need a plan B, plan C, and plan D, they're far from ideal. You would imagine under the best case scenario, these planes just arrive on time and the airline can operate as normal. But if there's one thing we know about the aviation industry is it never really works the way you'd intend it to. And while I am talking about narrow bodies now with the XLR, I think we do see these delays probably the most at the moment for your wide body, with the likes of 787s, A350s, and 777Xs, that has seen airlines be forced to retain older, less fuel-efficient types to cope. Air Canada have said they're looking towards leasing aircraft to mitigate some of the stresses felt with the XLR delays, but are really struggling to put a time frame on when deliveries will occur. As those estimations continue to slip, they could see the first aircraft arriving well into 2025. Either way, once Airbus can navigate these issues that have been identified, the promise of the type is certainly there, and with substantial backing from companies right around the world, the XLR should redefine what it means to travel when it comes to single-aisle flying. Where do you stand on this aircraft? As I know at the end of the day, with us mostly being customers, your opinion may be very strong. Some will prefer the twin-aisle nature of 767s and A330s for flying from, say, North America to Europe. Or are you really excited about jumping on board single-aisle planes like the XLR? Let me know down below in the comments, and if you'd like to see more analysis like this, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for much more coverage on the aviation industry. Take care and be safe, and I'll see you next time.